of EMA for as long as I can remember, and does an amazing job of stitching all of us together as one family. The awardees today who have delivered in excellence in their respective fields, and also those who have instituted these awards, many of whom have been lifetime contributors to not only EMA but also to Bharat Mata through their resilience, through their perseverance, and through their spirit of service for our country. Ladies and gentlemen, it's always a pleasure to be here at EMA, and it's an institution that I have been, if I may say, I'm not a member, but honored to be a part of at many events for over 15 years to 20 years. And it's an organization and an event that I always look forward to being a part of. And the reason for that is that EMA under itself brings together the length and breadth of our country, enterprises, and people who are not only pioneers in industry, but who are thought leaders, who are able to think of new paradigms, who are able to always innovate. And therefore, for me, it's an honor to be amongst all of you and try and be osmotic in the process of continual learning through the stories that I hear, through the awards that are given out at such events. So congratulations to all the awardees today. Now the topic today is Audacious India. And we have heard this cliched phrase over multiple decades, and a hopeful question that has always been top of mind for all of us. And that question has always been, when will India rise? And I think that in this environment across the world today of global volatility, of supply chain realignment, of rising geopolitical uncertainty, I think the one country that stands out on the global firmament is India. And the statement that India's rise today, and I'm using the analogy of Triple R, that fabulously famous and successful Hindi movie, is real. India's rise is rapid, and India's rise is resolute. I think that fundamental transition and transformation that our country has undergone in the last decade, once a country that was euphemistically always known as one among the fragile five in the world, has risen today from being the 11th largest economy to becoming the world's fifth largest economy. And we are on track to become the world's third largest economy by 2028, going ahead of Germany and Japan. A country that is today close to $4 trillion will grow to $5 trillion by 2028, grow to $6 trillion by 2030. A country in the last decade that has shown the world the power of compounding. If we look at the story of the United States of America, which is today an economic power in the world, the success story of the United States of America is not based upon 10% GDP growth rate or 12% GDP growth rate that has been based on volatility. But the success of the United States of America has been based on 3 to 4% GDP growth rate, but for 100 years. And that has transformed the United States of America. And India is going through that same very transformation, where the last decade's decadal GDP growth rate has been close to 8%, which has lifted close to 25 crore of our people above poverty and transformed them into the new middle class, a middle class with both purpose and a middle class with potential. And that, ladies and gentlemen, has resulted today in a country that is confident, a country that is connected, and a country that is courageous. And those are the three adjectives that I will use to describe India today. And this is not just about statistics. There has been a structural change. The fact that we are today spending close to 11 lakh crores on capital expenditure. We were earlier characterized by a concept where 90% of our expenditure was based on revenue, which in economic terms means what? You're sacrificing future income for today's consumption. We're today characterized by investment, where through capital expenditure you're investing today to create revenue streams for the future. 11 lakh crore of capital investment from the government's perspective, from a paltry 1.5 lakh crore a decade ago. 12% of GDP to today 23% of GDP. That's the phenomenal rise that India has seen today. And that fundamental shift will create, for every rupee invested today, 2.45 rupees of revenue stream in the short term and 4.8 rupees of revenue stream in the longer term. So you're talking about a 2.5 multiple to almost a 5 multiple. And that will result in India's recognition today not as a regional player anymore, but India's recognition as a global player. A player that is a driver of growth, a player that is a source of stability, a player that is a torchbearer of innovation, and a player that will show the path to the world. We talked about new business models and new paradigms that need to be set up. I believe India is already doing that. Whether it's in the area of agriculture, International Year of Millets. How many of us are aware, Sunita ji is sitting on this stage, that this computer was not set up by God to process processed food. And the fact that we are moving towards millets and much more healthier products is a path that we are showing not only to Asia but to the world. The concept of prakritik kheti, jivik kheti, organic farming. The wheel is turning full circle, and India is leading the charge on that wheel turning full circle. The concept of Adhyatmik Shakti. Our awardee of the year talked about that. India has always been a spiritual power. People have come and taken India's treasures and marketed across the world. But it is India's time today, when International Yoga Day is celebrated at the United Nations, where members of 130 countries are sitting on the mat of the UN in New York City, practicing yoga to show to the world. It is not about only bottom lines. It's not only about balance sheets. Success for all of you, for us, for humankind is about intangibles. It is about values, it is about mission, it is about goals. And if you're able to deliver on your values, your mission, your goals, as an individual, as a public servant, as an entrepreneur, as a company, as a state government, as a country, then everything else will follow. And that is the path that India has historically shown the world. And we are again, once again, showing the world. We talked about IP. Yes. But IP is not only limited to hardware. IP is also about software. And when I use the word software, I'm not talking about our software companies. It's about India's concept of Atiti Deva Bhava. Your guest is God. The hospitality and the tourism that you will experience in India, you will never experience in any other part of the world. Whether it is about the area of hospitality, whether it is the area about agriculture, about manufacturing, about services. That's the new paradigm that we take to the world. And it is our decade, it is our time, where Indian models will become global models. And it is all of you who are today innovating on that paradigm. The narrative today is shifting. And as the narrative is shifting, so is India's map. What was once talked about in terms of Indo-Pacific, Asia-Pacific, is now being termed as Indo-Pacific. India has become the center point for connectivity to 26 countries. And there will be a time in the next decade where all trade routes will go through India, just as they did 1,000 years ago. We talked about the Northeast. The Northeast is a pivot and a strategic area not only for India alone, It is the only connector for the global Southeast Asia to the rest of the world. And if we go back 1,000 years, all trade routes from all of global Southeast Asia used to go through the Northeast to the rest of the world. And under Prime Minister Modi's leadership, we will construct that paradigm again. In the last 10 years, $60 billion of investment by Government of India has gone into the Northeast. An area that had only 9 airports, 2 states that did not have even a single airport, Arunachal Pradesh and Sikkim. Today that area has 17 airports. And it is our fervent hope that India becomes a connector and the Northeast becomes a connector to the rest of Southeast Asia. It must become an international hub, whether it is Guwahati, whether it is Agartala. Flying time from Guwahati to Agartala to Chennai is as long as flying time from Guwahati and Agartala to Indonesia. And these are countries with which India does not have a trade relationship alone. It has an adhyatmic relationship. It has a spiritual relationship. And that soft power of India is our wealth. It is on the foundation of that soft power that we have to build verticals of economic power. That intangible relationship India shares with every country across the world. And it is my fervent hope that with railway connecting every state in the Northeast, Sunita ji talked about connectivity from the Northeast. We are building the Kaladan Highway to connect directly to Chittagong so that goods can travel from the Northeast directly to either Kolkata or to Chennai. And from there, a road route and then on to the Middle East and on to Europe. We are thinking of the IMT Highway, Indo-Myanmar-Thailand Highway, which will connect us directly to Southeast Asia. So we are thinking under Prime Minister's leadership of paradigms that were never ever thought of before. And the capability of the Northeast. Today, one of the first fabs that are coming up in our country, Tata's 27,000 crore fab is being put up in the Northeast. We built 45,000 kilometers of highways, 5,000 kilometers, 45,000 kilometers of rural roads, 5,000 kilometers of national highways. 6,500 villages have been connected by 5G. Which brings me on to the next biggest connector in our lives, which is the area of telecom. And I firmly believe that if today leadership is about vision, then infrastructure is about delivery. And if leadership is about vision, infrastructure is about delivery, then technology is the enabler. And today, India stands out. We had the fastest 5G rollout in the world. 22 months connected 99% of India's districts, 82% of India's population. Close to about 4.5 lakh crores worth of investment. Close to 4.5 lakh towers being put up. And this box is no longer about communication. It is about connecting each individual to the world. It is a gateway. It is a gateway to knowledge. It is a gateway to economic opportunity. It is a gateway to economic growth. We had a physical highway, but we now have a digital highway. And it is on that digital highway that today India's models, UPI, Bheem app, Jam Trinity, $272 billion worth of transactions a month, $2.85 trillion a year, 1.72 billion transactions in a year. 46% of the world's digital transactions happen in our country, India. That is our IP. Today, so-called advanced countries are courting us for this IP. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is India's capability. We today have 940 million people on broadband connectivity. 10 years ago, we had 60 million. 97% drop in costs. 1 GB of data used to cost 287 rupees. Today, 1 GB of data costs 9 rupees. I want to correct Sunita ji, it's not 16 cents, it's 11 cents compared to $2.59 in the world. We are the cheapest data provider in the world today. 7 lakh kilometers of OFC fiber. And I'm proud to report to you today, as your public servant, that India's national carrier, BSNL, is not far behind. We are laying out our own Atmanirbhar, indigenous 4G technology stack. We are only the 5th country in the world to produce 4G technology after China, Sweden, Denmark, and South Korea. Only 4 countries in the world. India is the 5th to produce its own indigenous 4G stack. 100,000 towers are being laid out by BSNL today. And BSNL, for the first time in its history, has gained consumers from 8.6 crore consumers in June 2024. We are today at 9.15 crore consumers, 55 lakh consumers we have gained over the last 8-9 months. And after 18 years, almost 2 decades, the first quarter, after 18 years, October to December quarter, BSNL declared not an EBITDA positive number, but a net profit for the first time after 18 years. And this telecom sector is aided very ably by another relatively lesser known public service delivery mechanism, which is the largest in the world, which is my passion, my India Post. And many of you in industry will understand that. No delivery mechanism in the world has the capability of India Post. 1,64,000 POPs, points of presence, with 240,000 dakyas. The capability of distribution is unparalleled. And under Prime Minister's guidance, we are changing the look of India Post. We are conducting a BPR exercise, and we are going to convert each post office into a rural fintech engine in the coming days. We want to convert India Post, which is today a cost center for the government of India, into a profit center for the government of India. The India Post Payments Bank, which was set up 5 years ago, was supposed to break even in 7 years. We've already broken even last year. And we are making profits today. And therefore, you have an India today that we are building, which is A, connected by fiber, B, powered by satellites, and C, anchored in inclusive innovation. And therefore, today, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that this is not only India's decade, this is India's century. all of us in this room, and all of us across the length of the country, as Prime Minister has said, we have to commit ourselves to the resolve of ensuring that a Bharat that used to be Vishwa par Nirbhar, a Bharat that used to be Vishwa par Nirbhar, a Bharat that in the last decade has become Atmanirbhar, a Bharat that used to be Vishwanirbhar, a Bharat that has become Atmanirbhar, must transform itself into a country where the world looks at Bharat, Vishwa, Bharat pe Nirbhar. That has to be our commitment and our resolve. And in our yatra, from our Amrit Kal to our Shatabdi Kal, we have to transform our country as a collective. Each one of 140 crore Indians committing ourselves to that yagna, if you may call it. जिस यज्ञ में हर भारतीय अपनी आहुति दे. That yagna has to be conducted by each one of us into a nation that is a story of a country that is reclaiming its place on the global firmament that we had 2,000 years ago. A country that was once defined by potential into a country that is today defined by performance. From our digital highways to our Himalayan frontiers, from our Himalayan frontiers to our economic corridors and our democratic conviction, India is not just rising, but India is setting the pace and setting the future for the world in the days to come. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, we must march forward audaciously. We must march forward aggressively, but we must also march forward together.